Justin Faulk gets honored for his 1,000 NHL game career milestone. Let's talk about that and also the Blues' win over the Mammoth.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I want to talk about Justin Faulk, who did play his 1,000th game in Toronto, but was honored last night against the Mammoth. The Blues defeated Utah. It was a 1-0 shutout win for St. Louis, but it was a big win for the Blues. And then, of course, we have to ask ourselves now, if 2 wins in a row, are the Blues back? I mean, I have to tell you, this was a big 4 points the Blues have picked up in the last 2 games. So for me personally, I am excited to finally talk about something positive. Before I get into Justin, I just want to remind you to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. If you're listening, make sure to give a 5-star review and make sure to follow. Stay in touch with your Locked On Blues community. We're a family here and we talk about the Blues every single day. I'm also on X at Locked On Blues. Let's get into things. Justin Faulk has played 1,006 games after last night's contest. However, he was honored last night in St. Louis for his milestone. 1,000 career games is a huge milestone. Last year, we saw Captain Brayden Chen and we saw Nick Leddy being honored. And I think it's so cool whenever you see players being honored for this milestone. Not a lot of guys make it to 1,000 games. And I want to tell you a little bit about Justin and about his career just because it's really cool. So, yes, 1,006 games he has played. But let's start back to when he was drafted. The Minnesota native was drafted in 2010 to the Carolina Hurricanes at 37th overall. It was the second round, 7th pick. And in the 2011-2012 season, Justin played 66 games, accumulating 22 points with 8 goals and 5 assists. Not bad for your first season. History goes on and on and on and on in Carolina, right? And he played there for most of his career, obviously, with the final year in his career being with the Canes in 2018-2019, playing all 82 games with 11 goals and 24 assists for 35 points. Then he was here in St. Louis 2019-2020, and the rest is history. So you might be wondering, my friends, Justin Faulk, I know what you're going to say. Hale, you seem to talk kind of negatively on him. I am sometimes frustrated with his positioning at times, but I think it's also fair for me to say that overall he's been a stellar defenseman in the NHL. And while, yes, there's going to be frustrations with any player, right? I mean, it's impossible to look at some players and not have some frustration, right? But at the end of the day, you can appreciate good hockey players, and Justin is one of them. And while his time with Carolina obviously was something extremely impressive, you have to just understand that for Justin, right, he was able to stay relevant in the NHL, by the way, mind you, for all of these years. I mean, he's played in the Olympics. He has done so much when it comes to the game of hockey. And I want to give you some overall career stats because these are really cool, all things considering. After 1,006 games, he has 136 goals, 335 assists, tallying up 471 points. While Justin is minus 68, which I know for you and I, it might be like, okay, that's not so great. At least it's not 6-7. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to be hip again. He has also spent a total of 492 minutes in the penalty box. He has averaged about 23 minutes flat of ice time. And for Folker, as they all call him, he has 33 game winning goals. And I have to say, for a defenseman, that's pretty impressive, all things considering, right? So he has had such a great career, and I am so happy that he was able to be honored last night. In last night's ceremony, we saw familiar faces like Ryan O'Reilly. Nick Leddy, he was kind of a jump scare, I was like, Nick Leddy. But no, it was all cool to see Nick Leddy. Good to see him in his Sharks gear. Again, big fish Nicoletti. I will never forget that, by the way, about Nicoletti, about how into fishing he is. I know that's like the most random thing, but like seriously, like this guy is so into fishing. And during the off season, that's all he does is fish and hunt and all that stuff. And anyways, seeing him on my screen, as I said to you, I was like, but there he was. We saw Jaden Schwartz. It was nice to see him again. I miss you. Come back, please. We also saw other players like Jordan Stahl, who spent a lot of time in Carolina with Nick Leddy. And that made me feel old, by the way, when I saw Jordan Stahl, because I want to just like put this into perspective. I feel like the Carolina Hurricanes, and I know they won the cup early in the 2000s, but they've been so like good and relevant for a while, and they just haven't been able to kind of get over this like bump. And it's so frustrating to watch because they have so much talent. But man, like Jordan Stahl, that's like childhood. And that, you know what? This 1,000 game ceremony made me really nostalgic, and it made me really annoyed because, again, when you look at a player like a Jordan Stahl, I know this is about Justin Faulk, and like, yay, I'm happy for him, but we need to address the elephant in the room of how old I feel with Jordan Stahl, right? He's 37 years old, okay? And he's still playing. Well, he's actually likely to return from an illness, but yes, still playing in the NHL. And I just can't, for whatever reason, like get through my head that I have been able to witness the greatness of Mark Stahl. That is right. You already know Mark Stahl. No, but overall, this is a hockey family that I feel like I have watched for such a long time. And I was like, whoa, okay. Wow, you all have made me feel really old. Uh, which, again, I know that this is about Justin. And again, shout out to Justin. But yeah, it also made me feel very old. But you heard from all of these great people. And I think it just goes to show that he truly is a good teammate. I mean, when I was in the Blues locker room last week, I was talking to Sonny, and the Blues media team was actually doing, I believe, like some kind of video project for Justin. And they were reacting to this post on Twitter of Justin throughout the years. And I guess it was like the most liked or viewed social media post on Twitter by the Blues account. And as I'm asking Sonny some questions, he's yelling, "Let's go, Folker!" And I'm like, okay. He is well liked in the locker room. So while, yes, there is some frustrations with him, 100%, overall, he is a very skilled and talented player. And congratulations to him, his family. I know he has 3 children. And at the end of the day, this is an accomplishment that not many people get to accomplish. So I am very excited for Justin and to see what's to come for him. And man, 1,006 games for Jay Faulk. That is awesome. Congratulations, Justin, for Justin Faulk. All right, the Blues had a 1-0 shutout win over Utah. We're going to talk about that coming up next. But before I do so, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It has helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and get a better handle on my investments without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. I love that I can review everything. And by the way, I like that there is a visual dashboard and smart tools to make it so much easier to understand where all of my money is going and how to make it work harder for me. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com. Code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. The St. Louis Blues had a 1-0 shutout win over Utah yesterday, and I want to talk to you about this contest because it was a big team win for St. Louis. I also want to talk to you about some other personal stuff that came from yesterday's contest overall. But I want to start with something kind of more serious, actually, before we talk about the win. Because this is sad and this is serious and this isn't clickbait. This isn't, this isn't any of that stuff, right? So I want to start off with this. At the end of the day, as much as we love the game of hockey, in the sense that we cheer for our teams and we want our guys to win, obviously, we support the community. And yesterday, something really sad happened, and something that impacted one of our own in our community. So, Clayton Keller, who, by the way, I always say hometown kid Clayton Keller, because he is, had something happen in his life. And his father passed away. And I just want to start off by saying this. His father's name was Brian Keller. And I just want to give a moment, if you will let me, of silence to Brian and to the Keller family. Thank you. I feel like it's really important to acknowledge this first and foremost because right now, this is something that's much bigger than hockey. And his father, Brian, passed away suddenly over Thanksgiving. This was unexpected. And it was very hard, actually, to listen to an interview that Keller did talking about it. And at the end of the day, it's just hard to talk about because it's real life, right? But at the end of the day, as a community, it doesn't matter if you're rivals with a team, somebody lost their father, which in itself is horrible. So I just wanted to put that out here and just send my condolences. On Friday night, the Dallas Stars played against Keller and the Mammoth. And the Stars did something, in my opinion, which was very incredible. The Stars honored Keller and his courage during the post-game ceremonies. And due to the fact that Clayton, he chosen to play despite this terrible loss. And the Stars made the move to name him the first star of the game for his effort. So it was a very nice moment. And at the end of the day, again, it's so much more than hockey. But the Blues did play tribute, by the way, to the family. And Keller said, lots of memories at this rink growing up, coming to games here, sitting on my dad's lap, my grandpa's lap, and just admiring those players and wanting to be out there. And for a guy that grew up in St. Louis and, he wanted to be in the NHL, the Blues did honor the significance of that. And they gave Clayton the tribute that really displayed, their appreciation for him and his roots and who he came from and all of that. So, he did speak and he said, first off, teammates, coaching staff, management have been unbelievable towards me, my family. Big thanks to the Blues for everything they did tonight. They didn't have to do that. Lots of memories at this rink. And I just wanted to say, as a whole, to the Mammoth community, to Utah, I want to just really clap my hands in support of your organization for how you have been treating everything that Clayton has been going through and the support that you have shown him. I think as fans, sometimes we don't necessarily forget that it's more than hockey, but it's sometimes difficult to put aside, we want to win, we blah blah blah. So listen, I'm gonna be saying word salad, so I'm just gonna leave it at this. Clayton, thinking of you, can't even imagine what you and your family are going through. Hearing you talk about your father, Brian, and hearing all of these wonderful memories that you have shared throughout the years has really been heartwarming. And I hope you can find some peace in knowing that we're all by your side. There's no easy way to transition into what I'm going to talk about next. And I apologize for that. When it's something so serious, you can't always transition easily. But I just really wanted to acknowledge that Clayton Keller is somebody that I am thinking of right now. And of course, his family and sending my thoughts. But the Blues had a 1-0 win over the Mammoth yesterday. And it was a shutout 1-0 win. I know, very surprising for the Blues. And you're going to be more surprised when I tell you who was in net. It was the one, the only Joel Nofer. Oh, no, wait. I thought his name was Hofer. Well, it's Hofer, but it was Nofer last night because he didn't allow any goals in. I was trying to be creative. But the Blues did win 1-0 over the Mammoth, with Dylan Holloway scoring the only goal of the contest. And it was such a good game for the Blues. And I know sometimes low scoring games, like they're not, appealing, they're not attractive. But at the end of the day, this team was able to capitalize. Like the Mammoth are one of the best teams in the NHL right now, in my opinion. And the Blues were able to capitalize and able to get a win over the Mammoth. They actually played a really good game last night. Now, I know that there has been a little bit of controversy when it comes to Joel Hofer all season because some say, hey, he hasn't been, performing well in net. But I told you all, after that Flyers game in Philadelphia where the Blues did lose, I like how that sounds. The Blues did lose in the OT. So like obviously they were going to lose. He was really frustrated, and this was one of the most frustrated I have seen Joel Hofer. And I just want to read you this, that last night he was able to stop all 18 shots on goal. So it really was a perfect night for Hof. And again, a night that the Blues needed that win. I mean, you heard from Coach Montgomery after the contest, and he spoke that this team is playing selflessly, not selfishly, selflessly, and that he likes where this is treading. And this is something that I feel like we don't talk about enough when it comes to the Blues, is that they really have been playing frustrated, and that doesn't usually show you good results. So the fact that the Blues are able to play in more of a selfless manner, but playing hard, and I don't want to say desperate in a bad way, that's where you're seeing the most results from that. The Blues, by the way, are 9, 10, and 7, and that's 2 wins in a row for St. Louis. By the way, last night, some people are saying, oh, Alexei Turchenko, he should be disciplined for his hit on Logan Cooley. Well, there is going to be no disciplinary action towards Alexei Turchenko for his hit on Logan Cooley. It was viewed as a natural stopping motion without leading or extending with his knee. And I found that interesting. I love my Blues. I'm going to defend my Blues. I don't know about that one. I don't like how that looked. I'm going to say it. I don't like how it looked. I thought it was a little bit not clean. I don't want to say it was intentionally dirty, but it just didn't look clean. So I don't agree with that. I'm sorry, I don't. And here's my next question. Are the Blues back? Now, whoa, the Blues won 2 in a row. I might be getting a little ahead of myself, right? But are the Blues back? Well, to tell you the truth, they might be. And the only reason why I say this is when looking at the Central Division, the Blues have 25 points. You know who also has 25 points? The Blackhawks. But you know who has 26 points? The Winnipeg Jets. And you know who has 27 points? That is the Utah Mammoth. So you're telling me that the St. Louis Blues just need to pick up a couple more wins, right? Hope some of these other teams continue to lose. The Mammoth have now lost 3 in a row. The Blackhawks have now lost 5 in a row. Maybe it's time for the Blues to pick up a couple more wins, Teams lose, and then they can be 4th in the Central. Now, you notice how I didn't say the Wild. The Wild have 33 points. The Stars have 36. And then the Colorado Avalanche have 42 points. You're not catching up, by the way, to the Avalanche at all. Like, at all. Mind you, at all. But the other teams you could totally catch up to, maybe actually Dallas is a stretch. But I think right now the Blues are in this odd spot where, yes, they're not statistically there yet, but they could be. Like by the end of next week, they could be. And that to me is so exciting when you think about it. Like this is a Blues team right now, by the way, mind you, who was the 3rd worst team in the NHL, and now they're the 5th. Like they went from 3 to 5. Like I don't know about you, but the Blues. No, I'm joking. I actually don't think the Blues are back. I don't think they're that good of a team still. Did I prank you? Oh boy, no. All of these teams have been playing awful hockey. I think this team is playing better, but I can't say they're back yet. Are you kidding me? They are still a not so good hockey team. Um, for what it's worth, winning games by 1 goal isn't, in my opinion, gonna make me feel like this team is so much better than everyone else. But I think they're playing better hockey, but I can't confidently say the Blues are back. I think the Blues are just playing overall better hockey. I really was like trying to be sarcastic with you, and I was like, yeah, if they pick up 2 more wins, I mean, yeah, but the reality is that they're gonna end up like selling at the deadline, and they're not that good of a team. Sorry, they're not. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow. I wanted to do a bonus episode today. I was sitting around and I'm like, you know what? Let's talk some Blues hockey. I told you this is like all I care about is Blues hockey. Do I need a life? No, I don't. I'm actually very content. All right, I will talk to you all next time. And like always, let's go Blues.